concept of hiring a second community peace officer was discussed. The community peace officer level 2 would be limited to enforcement services within town boundaries. This level 2 position would also be restricted from traffic, also known as moving violations, such as speeding. However, enforcement of parking and related offenses would be applicable. The second CPO would situate Vegreville in a position to enhance its municipal enforcement, contract the services to other municipalities, while at the same time increasing local patrols within the town. The timing of hiring the second CPO individual is of importance. The ideal circumstance would be to have the CPO hired by 31st of March 2012. This would allow for some initial training before the peak season of weed notices and unsightly premise inspections in the spring and summer months. The contracted services also increase during the same time period. The hiring of a second CPO would eliminate the necessity of hiring a part-time seasonal weed inspector each year. The duties of the CPO2 would include weed inspection responsibilities. Financial implications. The cost of the town of Vegreville for the CPO level 2 position is estimated at $74,820, and a one-time uniform and equipment allotment of $8,300 for a total of $83,120. Within that $74,820 includes salary, benefits, training and professional development, communications equipment, vehicle fuel and maintenance, and other operating expenses. There would be an additional one-time expense required for clothing, uniform, and equipment estimated at $8,300. The elimination of the part-time seasonal weed inspector would realize a saving of $12,900. The potential additional annual revenue for contracted services to the village of Danville and Minburn is estimated at $17,600. And so the summary of that, or the cost to the budget, the $74,820 is the position cost, the one-time $8,300 cost, and from that you subtract you absorb the weed inspection cost of $12,900, and of course you have the additional annual contracted services for $17,600. So the actual cost to the budget would be $52,620. These figures provide above or calculated on a full year basis. The budget amount for 2012 would be determined on an applicable prorated basis, since obviously it wouldn't be hired until the end of March.
Yeah, and we don't know when contracted services will take effect
With the two communities. Okay, communication strategy. The appropriate agencies, including the Solicitor General's Office, the Vegreville RCMP detachment, would be notified in writing. An application for the Town of Vegreville Community Peace Officer Level 2 would be submitted to the Solicitor General's Office, and the CPO Level 2 would require RCMP security clearance in order to work out of the Vegreville detachment. Recommended that the town approve the establishment of the Community Peace Officer Position 2. So entertain a motion to accept this recommendation. Councillor Toroshenko, discussion. Councillor Hitt.
Yeah, just a couple of questions. Okay, the peace officer 2, I gather, would not be able to make up or go out of town according to this. Said here, he's just his jurisdiction would just be in town.
Correct.
So Kenny would right now he would be the one who would be basically contracted out of town.
Yes.
Okay. Now, is there more potential for any more increased contracts with other municipalities?
Well, we've been approached in previous years by other communities, but they haven't said anything so far this year.
Right. In the past, we have denied some requests to come in because we couldn't offer the services because of our resources. So as far as the potential, it's always a possibility.
Okay. Further, Councillor Hayden, or that's...
Yeah, so basically, for future years, if this thing passes, the tax burden would be approximately $52,620 per year.
was looking at was for 2012, on a full year basis, would be salary and the cost of the officer at $74,000, uniforms and equipment, which I had specified above as a one-time cost to get the person equipped, at $8,300. We would not see the $8,300 every year. And then the elimination of the part-time weed inspector would be a saving every year. And based on the assumption that we will have additional contract services, that would be revenue that the town would see each year. Okay? So the only item that is not an annual cost would be the uniforms and equipment.
Right. The 74,820. That is, that's total expenses, that's including all the benefits,
Correct.
everything involved, and the equipment that he needs to use. The works, right? Okay, then we take the 8,300 off of that, because that's just a one-time cost.
Correct.
And then we also,
No, that 83 is an additional cost this
It's an
year.
additional cost
Yeah,
this year.
But after that, it's
so
just.
after that, so then it would be, we'd be down to actually then about $44,000 and change.
Well, and the other idea is that because there's a vehicle, and our past practice has been to set aside some money for
We have a
replacement.
vehicle replacement reserve each year for the law enforcement vehicles. Okay, so in the past, we have allowed for one vehicle, but now we would be allowing for two vehicles. So that would be the only other cost. I was looking at the cost of the position. I did not include a vehicle replacement reserve each year.
Okay, Councilor Root.
Just to clarify, this additional contracted service provision to Mathville and Invern, we're currently providing law enforcement services to what other?
Currently, it's Andrew, Mandair, Willingdon, and Town of Two Hills.
And those services have been done by Mr. Podrosny, but that's been making it difficult as we've passed our community standards bylaw last year, trying to enforce some of the requirements that we've put in place.
We have brought in additional requirements in the past year for enforcement in town. So that's why we're looking at creating the second position, and this person would be based within town.
And, sorry, and then the additional paperwork that would go along with the actual completion
Yes.
of enforcing the bylaws is still an additional task for another person potentially, or would that be absorbed by this person?
We're looking at, which will come up at budget time, we're looking at sharing a clerical position with municipal enforcement and RCMP. But I'm not looking for approval for that today, I'm just looking for the CPO position. So, and this is prior to budget, and this is why it's coming down to council. So this, if this is approved, will be, so council understands, will be a commitment in the 2012 budget.
52,000.
Yeah.
Okay, Councilor Koskevich.
Just to clarify, the vehicle that this person's going to be using is the weed inspector vehicle, correct?
Yes.
And so far, every year, how have you been putting away whatever 8,600 for that vehicle to be replaced?
We have been putting money aside for the main municipal enforcement vehicle, community peace officer vehicle. We have not put money aside to replace the weed inspector vehicle. Before, correct.
Okay. And then this year, we're not going to put that money aside, so in the future, so we're going to look at it.
Yes.
So there's also the possibility, what we've done in the past, our weed inspection vehicle was the former CPO1's vehicle. And, you know, when you get a new vehicle, then that one gets bumped down. And I would assume that that's probably going to happen in the future as well. That, I mean, you're talking about a vehicle that's going to be essentially used in town, so you're not going to be putting miles of that on it. So very easily, the CPO1's vehicle could go down to the CPO2, so there may not be any requirement for a new vehicle that way. It would just be one that we bumped down.
We're using a vehicle that's already in our fleet, that's equipped with radios, was a former enforcement vehicle, so it's ready to go.
So supplemental, it would be pretty much the same, so would there be any necessarily reserve for the second vehicle, or would we just simply, as Mr. Clifford put it, use the same vehicle, just,
That may be a discussion of budget.
but it is possible?
We'll have to
We'll
discuss that.
That was something to discuss, but that's sort of an idea. I mean,
Yeah, I just think, I'm just trying to, look at the savings.
We haven't had two community peace officers on staff at the same time.
Right,
So,
maybe the.
so this is new, so that it will be discussed when you get into our budget.
Council Hay.
Because not knowing what the budget is coming up with and how tight things are gonna be, is this a position that definitely has to be kind of like filled, the decision has to be made now? Could we not possibly go with still another part-time position for this year?
We may not have our weed inspector from the prior years, has not given a commitment to the town to come in or to come back to work for us. But we are also looking at, as mentioned earlier, the increased enforcement on community services bylaw or snow removal bylaw. What I'm looking at having this approved prior to budget is for the timing of hiring the person. We're hoping to have a person hired for, say, on staff ideally in April, and then that would give training time available before we're into the peak season, which is generally May through about September. So that's why I'm coming in. So as far as the work, we feel that the work is there, and that's the feedback that we've received from especially at the planning sessions. So,
Okay, for the point.
Yes. Would it be possible to make this not a permanent position, but a temporary position, see how it works for the 1 year instead of committing yourself to, to see how it would work out?
Well, I mean, there is the aspect that all positions are probationary, but that's on performance. If you're doing your job, you can't then turn around and say you're continuing on. I mean, the probationary period is for,
And it's very hard to abolish a municipal position.
I don't know what success we would have in trying to fill a temporary position or a term position in something like this. We've been fortunate in the past for a few years in having the part-time weed inspector come in. But as I said earlier, he hasn't given a commitment that he would be coming in for this summer. That's only for a 4 to 5 month period and only so many hours a week. But to have someone that we would spend the time and funds on training and equipping and having that person here for only a term, we had always viewed this as being a full-time position. As a permanent full-time position.
Council Leader.
I was just going to say that based on the discussions that we had in planning too, we need to look at succession planning too, because Mr. Podrosny has been running this aspect of our enforcement and bylaw for quite a while, but we need to plan for the future too. And I thought we kind of looked at that this position might look at that as well, and we need not only to provide more assistance to being able to enforce our bylaws that we've put into place in both the community standards and the snow removal bylaws, but also to be able to plan for the future that, as it stands right now, if something disastrous happened, we would be in a tough place without any bylaw enforcement. Is that? I thought that was the
That's
first
good point, yeah.
discussions.
Councilor Cruzan.
Yeah, and I agree with Councillor Rudick that certainly wasn't one of our